Hey guys, what's up? It's Snitchery. How you doing? How is everyone? Hope you're oh my god, wait, this is giving me Dwayne The Rock Johnson. We are doing something a little bit different on my channel today. Lately, most of my makeup videos have been showing you guys different variants on how to do different aspects of your makeup, whether it's your eyeliner, your brows, your lips, all that good stuff. But today, I wanted to try doing something that I've actually done once before. If you watched my goth video, you saw me try to turn myself into Nancy from The Craft because I was always told that me and the actress look super freaking similar. But as a cosplayer, I do spend a lot of time trying to change my features on my face to match characters. So I wanted to try doing that again, but with someone who I really don't resemble in any capacity. That someone, of course, as you can tell by the title, being Madison Beer. Now, I actually really don't know much about Madison Beer. She seems like a nice girl. The Gen Z influencers I'm not super familiar with, but I do know that lots of people think she's very pretty, myself included, and because we literally could not look more dissimilar, I have pretty large features and hers are very petite, I thought it would be fun to give it a go. This is not going to be one of those videos where I'm like carving out my face with like black face paint to mimic features. I want these to be techniques that you guys can use in your own makeup as well. Oh my gosh, this sun is nuts. It's about to go away, but this video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. You guys will hear about that a little bit later in the video. And if you've never seen my face before and you're ever interested in seeing my face again, feel free to subscribe down below. We would love to have you. I finally have that down pat. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me on this little video journey. It really does mean the world. And without further ado, let's just get into this because I have a feeling this is going to be a long one. So hopefully the sun chills out in a second, but until then, I'll stick to the corner. I'm going to go ahead and use the Rare Beauty primer. I literally love this stuff. You guys saw my video on Rare Beauty. I couldn't really speak to the primer because obviously the point of primer is that you see like how it keeps your makeup on. This stuff slaps. It rocks. I'm obsessed with it. Illuminizing. So pretty. And then I'm also going to use the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Eye Base. It's like a little putty, which I don't love things like this. They feel unsanitary, but I have very creasy under eye bags. My under eye bags, you know, they're here to humble me. That's what I've decided. They're here to humble me, and I have found that this helps. So obviously I'm going to start with my foundation. I was looking at a lot of Madison Beer photos, and it actually looks like a lot of the time she wears a very matte foundation. However, I'm going to go in with this Fenty Beauty Illuminating foundation and mattify certain parts of my face. I'm really not the biggest fan of full coverage matte foundations, and by not the biggest fan, I mean I will do literally everything in my power to avoid them. I would rather have something illuminating that I could then go in and mattify as I need, rather than having a matte face and going in and adding highlight. Next, I'm going to start carving out my face with concealer. We have very different face shapes. I've talked about this in my videos before. Some people have dry faces and some people have wet faces. And what that means is that some people, their faces are built in a way where you can see their bone structure. They're very angular, they're very sharp, they're very chiseled. And some people have thicker faces, meatier faces. I have the latter. Madison definitely has the former. She is much more angular and chiseled than I am. So I'm definitely going to have to work a little bit harder to snatch my own face, much lighter, and with the pointy side of my beauty blender, just start taking it up and towards my temple. I'm not gonna do a big concealer triangle because that's not the shape I'm trying to create. If you are just trying to cover up your under eye bags, that concealer triangle will be fine, though as I've always said, I feel like that's way too much concealer for literally anyone, but I also don't feel like that concealer triangle is that deliberate. Concealer is a great tool to completely reshape your face, and that triangle just isn't doing much of anything. What is the lighting in this video? Please, camera! I'm also gonna pop a little bit right here, over here. Madison has a bit of a longer chin than I do. All of this is gonna help lift my face. You guys can see I haven't even started adding any contour, and already I'm starting to look a little bit more snatched. Now I'm gonna go ahead in with a darker concealer, that right over where I put the lighter concealer. I'm also gonna take a little bit of this dark concealer, carve my jaw into a slightly different shape. So if you can see, my jaw goes down in one slope, whereas hers is more squared off like this. So what I'm gonna do is take this concealer. If you guys can see, I did a little hill right here so that my face will look more squared off with a prominent chin. And with something like this, you do have to make sure you blend it out really well. I have 100% been caught in these streets looking like I had a 5 o'clock shadow. I'm not afraid to admit it. We've all been there. If you have ever contoured your chin, you've been there. I'm gonna go ahead and bronze up my forehead and also connect where we drew that little chin hump up to my contour. If you're trying to warp your features for a costume or even just for day-to-day life, I would recommend doing as much heavy lifting as possible with creams, concealers, liquids, things like that, because the more you add on with like powders, the gunkier your face is gonna look. Liquids or cream, they're all just sort of melting. Now, finally, I'm gonna go into my IT Cosmetics powder and just do a light dusting over my entire face, except under my eyes where I am actually going to bake. I am not a baker. It's so dramatic. I don't think most people need to bake most of the time. However, for something like this, where you are looking for a dramatic change, it's gonna get you there. While we're waiting, let's get into eyebrows, because I feel like that is sort of the defining feature of Madison's face. She has very dark, very thick brows, which obviously your girl was not blessed with, naturally. But she was blessed with some makeup skills. So what I'm gonna do first is go in with Benefit Gimme Brow. You guys can probably see how much I like this product by the fact that everything is rubbed off the tube, and just brush all my brow hairs up and out. She actually has a little bit more space between her eye and her brow. Her brows are very, very lifted, so I definitely wanna make sure everything is brushed up as much as possible to lift my face too. Then I'm gonna take a wet little eyebrow brush into a dark brown shade and just start flicking. I don't want my brows to be too tall because hers are actually pretty slim, thick but tame, but I'm just gonna start adding little strokes, making sure never to go down below my natural brow line, occasionally running a spoolie through them to soften up those lines, and then adding a couple little hairs in the front. Down here, because my brow is still sitting a little bit low, I'm gonna take some concealer and just pat that in. Rather than gelling it up like I normally would, I'm actually gonna gel to the side, because again, her brows are pretty tame. Okay, on to nose. Our noses Listen, Madison has a gorgeously slim nose. I have a gorgeously round nose. They really could not be more different. But first, hey, it's Snitchery from yesterday. But as long as I'm here, let's go ahead and talk about the sponsor of this video, ExpressVPN. If you don't know what a VPN is, it stands for a virtual private network. Essentially, when you are surfing on the web and doing things on your phone, your internet provider can see literally everything you do. There's been a lot of talks about VPNs for certain reasons, especially on Twitter, realizing that things could be blocked in their countries and how do we get around it. A VPN, and ExpressVPN in particular, is really the easiest way to do this. It's something that you just download to your device and run it, and it really does protect you and your information. Also, you can set your VPN to essentially run your device in any country. Think of all the shows like on Netflix that you can't watch because you might be in a different country than that show is available to you. Or there's a site that's blocked in your country. Even a YouTube video, a VPN allows you to bypass all of that so that, especially in quarantine when there's literally still nothing else to do, the world is at your fingertips. And if you're like, holy shit, I don't want the government watching the weird things I do on the internet, and I definitely don't want the hacker next door to have access to that information, but this all sounds a little confusing, I have good news for you. It is so freaking easy. You literally just download the app, click a button, and you are good to go. I personally use it to watch Netflix shows and movies that I don't normally have access to. The even better news is I have a link below where you can find out how to get 3 months free using the link in the description box below. That is expressvpn.com/snitchery. Back to the video. Her nose kind of goes in 2 triangles, if that makes sense. So it slims down and then comes back out a little bit at the end. So what I'm gonna do is draw a line from my brow down to the middle of my nose here and start working that powder in towards the bridge of my nose. Then what I'm gonna do is take powder up underneath my nose like this to make it look a little bit more upturned and create a V shape on either side. Then I'm gonna close up the V into a little diamond where I drew those lines for my brows. And I'm gonna take a light powder and surround that shape, and also pop that light powder on the inside. I'm gonna start patting in with a brush. I actually learned this from Nicole Concilio, that when you brush in either direction, you do kind of disrupt where you deposited the product on your nose contour. If you just pat with a big brush like this, you're gonna leave much more of the shape intact. Then I'm gonna take a little bit of my lightest concealer just up here and then right down here. Carefully pat that in. I have no problem tooting my own horn, bitch. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and brush off this baking. Do you see how that concealer I drew just lifts your entire face? And then Madison is always very bronzed. So I'm gonna go in with my Hoola Caramel and start where I've got my contour and just work that color down. I'm gonna drive it up towards my temples. She has a much smaller forehead than I do. And then for blush, I just did an entire video on blush, but she typically sits her blush very high up on her cheekbones, just right here. So I'm gonna take the NARS 1-in-1 palette and only pop my blush right here. which is also gonna help lift my cheekbone. And then similarly, she also pops her highlight right here. I'm gonna go into my Bare Minerals Free highlighter and with my finger, just very targeted. I'm also gonna add a little bit right above my brows here and right here. And actually, let's do lips. So first what I'm gonna do is cover my lips in foundation. It's not my best look. This is not my best look. So using this little e.l.f. liner, I'm gonna do the technique I used to do on my lips pretty much every time, which is drawing a U shape. So instead of just lining my lips as you would, I'm actually going under and up. I'm also extending this color a little bit past my lip. My lips are very upturned, as are the corners. And then I'm gonna fill that in. Then I'm gonna go in with a much darker lip liner and reline, bring some definition back. And then for the bottom, I'm just gonna line like normal. Drawing those little curves and adding a little bit of pigment on the side of your mouth is gonna give you the illusion of upturned lips. It also doesn't look like Madison ever really does a matte lip, so I'm gonna go ahead in with a gloss. Not covering my entire lip, but just enough so that it looks a little moister. And then y'all are gonna think I'm nuts, but what I like to do is actually wipe off a little bit of the lipstick. So I'll take like cotton or toilet paper or something and literally just kind of wipe down some of that buildup. And I feel like that kind of helps you get a little bit of your natural lip look back so that it doesn't look so like chunky almost. Also, my lips are so chapped today. They're actually painful. I'm also gonna reapply a little highlighter. Last but certainly not least is eyes, which I'm really excited about because Madison, like me, has smaller eyes. Normally I'm trying to make my eyes look bigger, but today we can work with what we got. Her eyes have that, she's got the Megan Fox eye shape where they're like a little bit smaller, but they're like fox eyes, like cat eyes, very snatched. So what I'm gonna do first is go into just a basic black, and again on a wet eyebrow brush. Look, you guys, I use these for everything. I'm gonna go in and create a little wing and connect that to about the middle of my eye. Then I'm gonna take that same black and do the tiniest little inner wings. Next, I'm gonna do something I almost never do, but that Madison does every single time she does her makeup seemingly, which is line the entirety of my eyes. Again, I really like my eyes to look bigger, so I don't often stray into tight lining territory. But for a snatched eye, like a super snatched eye, it is near essential. I look so different. You guys let me know if am I going nuts? I feel like this makes me look like a completely different person. I'm gonna take some of my bronzer up underneath my eye just to soften out that harsh black line. And then I'm gonna go into my mascara and add really heavy bottom lashes, which also seems to be a staple of her look. And then there's usually a pretty bold inner highlight. So I'm gonna take the Laura Mercier, what palette is this? La Palette Naturelle, and pop a bright inner corner highlight. Ooh. Why is that so far in my under eye bag? Right at the corner of my eye. And then she does usually have some shadow, so I'm gonna go ahead into the McGRATH palette. This is Mothership. These palettes are the love of my life. I'm taking this little rosy shade and just popping it at the outer edge of my eye. I'm starting to drag that color in. I am gonna keep it to the outer 2/3, and then I'm gonna brush that color up and take a little bit underneath my eye. But y'all, that is it, that is all. Am I gonna be stopped in the street and mistaken for our girl Madison? Probably not. Do I look a little bit more like our girl Madison than when I started? I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna give that to myself. I'm gonna give that to myself because I couldn't have looked less like her 20 minutes ago, or however long this video is. I also don't think it helps that I have my hair like this because she never has her bangs like that. Is this literally any more impressive? Maybe, actually. Obviously, I wouldn't do my everyday makeup to emulate someone else's face, but I do always think challenges like this are fun, studying other people's features and trying to recreate them on myself, especially sharing little tips and tricks to you guys on how to tweak your features. I think this is a really fun way to do it. If you like this video, I'd appreciate if you hit me with a like and let me know in the comments which celebrity or public figure or influencer or whatever I should study their makeup style and recreate it on my own face. These types of videos are really fun for me. Thank you to ExpressVPN for sponsoring. If you made it to the end of this video and you don't have anything to say, drop a food emoji down in the comments, whichever one looks the best to you right now. Thank you for being my friend today and always, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys!